Narc alert. Red flag flying. There are a number of red flags that can be identified to assist you in ascertaining whether you are in the throes of being ensnared or indeed now ensnared by a narcissist. I cover 50 of the most prominent red flags that you experience during seduction in my book, Red Flag, which is available on Amazon and is an absolute must-read in terms of ascertaining whether you are ensnared now, and also, if you've previously been ensnared and you're now venturing out into the exciting, albeit apprehensive world of dating once again, an absolute essential in your armoury to protect yourself against further ensnarement. What you must keep in mind is that, first of all, there are many red flags that you just do not know about. That is understandable. You are not us. And certain red flags you just are not aware that this may well mean that you are currently being involved with a narcissist. Secondly, there are certain things that appear to you which don't sit right, but you don't actually recognise what it is. The information that I provide you with establishes that in a more digestible fashion, one that is more identifiable, and assists you in recognising, I thought it was X, but it's really Y, and now I understand precisely what that amounts to and how it is a risk to me. Furthermore, there are certain red flags that you identify, but then you fail to pay heed to. This is a consequence of your emotional thinking. Those of you who are familiar with my work will recognise that emotional thinking is not your friend. It is your enemy. Although it does masquerade as a friend, it masquerades as logic when it is not. It has one aim and one aim only, and that is to cause you to continue your engagement with the narcissist, whatever form that engagement may take, for the purposes of scratching that itch and feeding your addiction to our kind. Therefore, not only must you increase your knowledge to know what the red flags are, you have to take notice of them and recognise that when emotional thinking is looking to get in the way for the purposes of making you think that the red flag should not be heeded, or indeed is something else altogether, something benign, something good. Also keep in mind that a solitary red flag is merely indicative. It does not mean in itself that this individual is a narcissist. It is a warning sign, and it means look around for other signs. And if you observe the aggregate of these behaviours, you'll be dealing with a narcissist, and therefore obey the first golden rule of freedom, which is once you know, you go, you get out, and you stay out. If you have any uncertainty, and your uncertainty is understandable as a consequence of your lack of expertise, but also the clouding of your emotional thinking, utilise this moment when you are still in the window of evasion. Consult with me. Go to Narc site, narcssite.com, and organise a narc detector consultation, and I will tell you beyond a shadow of a doubt whether this individual is or is not a narcissist, and if they are, which school and cadre they belong to assist you in effecting your escape fast and as quickly and as simply as possible, and to know what to expect from this particular narcissist. If you spot a red flag, take note of it, but it does not mean that you necessarily have to go running to the hills when you spot one red flag. Use it as a platform to ascertain are there any others, and if there are, then you run from the hills. So, let us discuss one of those red flags, and that is where you encounter claims of a spiritual connection. The narcissist wants you to feel special. He or she wants you to feel like you are the centre of the universe, that you are king of all you survey, and that everything revolves around you. This may sound rather perverse, as it's all about us. But of course, at the outset, during seduction, we make it about you in order to make it about us. You are thrust high onto a pedestal and made to feel special and wonderful. One way of doing this is to make your relationship with the narcissist appear as if it has been decreed by the gods above. You, therefore, should look out for phrases such as these. We have a spiritual connection. I have been sent from heaven to look after you. I am an angel sent to guard you. Someone above saw me. They saw me and you and decided that we belonged together. And of course, the all-time classic, you are my soulmate. There's also phrases that you should be aware of, such as, I sense something deep between us, like some invisible bond, a cord, a rope. Or, I am a spiritual person, and I sense the deep connection that we have. If you hear phrases of that ilk, or those exact phrases, this is a red flag. If the narcissist is aware from his background checks on you that you are someone who believes in spirituality, astrology, ghosts, and similar phenomena, then he or she will use this technique all the more, and therefore the red flag becomes larger. Remember, the greater will approach this in a calculated fashion, looking out for your interests, and then consciously using them to rope you in, using phrases as those which I have just described. The lesser or mid-range narcissist may pick up on this information and does not do it with the deliberate intention of thinking, I know, I need to do some background work on this individual because I want to ensnare them. Oh look, they're interested in ghosts and the supernatural, therefore this suggests to me some kind of spiritual element to them, I can exploit that. Lesser and mid-range narcissists do not operate in that fashion. What they will do is ascertain information about you purely on the basis of thinking they are interested in you, and they do not recognise that unconscious need to ensnare you. They then assimilate this information, again, not in a conscious fashion of, I need to trap this person, how can I do it, what can I learn about them, but rather they take in this information and then they will unconsciously use it, shaped, developed, utilised by their narcissism for the purposes of achieving what they want and what they need. These background checks are always undertaken by our kind when we are focusing on a target, be it consciously or unconsciously. We will ask friends about you, send out loyal lieutenants to find out information about you, scour your social media profile and so on, in order to find out as much information about you as we can in order to aid our seduction of you. You should keep this in mind. And understand that this red flag and others are predicated on knowing information about you before we actually approach you. The key to recognising such comments as those that I have described earlier as red flags lies in the timing of the comment. We will make these remarks very early on in the relationship with you. We will text you such a comment after maybe only one date, or whisper it in your ear after our first kiss. We know that you will be caught in the excitement of this new relationship. We also know that we will say these things in tandem with other seductive sentences and affectionate acts, so the cumulative effect will be difficult to resist. If we know that such a comment will resonate especially well with you, and again, that knowledge will either be conscious or unconscious, dependent on the school of narcissist that you're dealing with, we know that you will not regard this as a red flag, but instead consider it a green light for the progression of the relationship. This underlines the danger that we pose. You are provided with a red flag, but because of our charm and our early manipulation of you through the application of the seduction hoover, we cause you to think that it is a green light and a sign that you should be with us. Such a comment that your other half is your soulmate would not be out of place after 10 years of togetherness, where you have experienced much together and become closer, tackling adversity and enjoying wonderful events together. It is entirely incongruous for somebody to declare that he or she is your soulmate after 2 dates. Somebody healthy, somebody normal, would not say that. Of course, because we appear as such a wonderful person, you want us so much, and therefore, where we express any observation that we belong with you or state a desire to remain with you in the future, you will seize on this, driven by your emotional thinking, because you want to hear it. You want the comment to be made, but you fail to consider its veracity in the context in which it is made. You are blinded by your own, understandable, desire to be with us. And this clouds your thinking when this clear red flag is hoisted. It is entirely possible for two people to be so well matched in their desires, their concerns, and their outlooks on life that they might well be regarded as soulmates. It is possible to find someone you are compatible with on nearly every level, somebody who understands you and often can anticipate your needs before you have articulated them. However, it takes time to recognise this. And as a consequence, we, of course, create the illusion that we are such a person, but do so very quickly, because we want to get hold of you, control you, as quickly as we possibly can, to secure you as a resource and an appliance in our fuel matrix. We will explain that we know these things, that we know this from loving you from afar, and that in itself is another red flag, and you fall for this illusion. Such a state of being is achievable, but only a declaration of such would be made after a considerable amount of time of closeness and togetherness, and certainly not a matter of days, and certainly not with one of our kind. How are such declarations evidence of the narcissistic dynamic? First of all, grandiosity. To declare ourselves to be sent from heaven, that we're a soulmate, shows a grandiosity of thinking. It's also magical thinking. We believe that we have that connection with you extremely quickly, and as I have explained, it does not arise with such speed. If you have known someone for many months beforehand, before it has become romantic, that is a different matter. There has been an establishment of the relationship. But for someone to come essentially out of left field and make such a declaration, having only known you for a matter of days or a handful of dates, is not realistic and is not healthy. It also exhibits a sense of entitlement. We feel entitled to make such a pronouncement about you. We feel an entitlement to say you are our soulmate, that we are the one that's been sent to save you, that we have come from some mystical spiritual plane, that some invisible force has guided us. We are entitled to utilise such concepts. It accords with our concepts of omniscience and omnipotence, that we are somehow part of this universal power that has been manifested and deployed for the purposes of your greater good. It also shows our lack of accountability by saying that we're heaven sent. It's heaven that's done this. And therein lies the essential dichotomy and contradictory behaviour of the narcissist. On the one hand, we claim it as part of our perception of being supreme, superior, and is part of our grandiosity, but at the same time, the idea that is something else that has propelled us towards you accords with our lack of accountability, which we can throw at you at a later juncture in devaluation. We were not responsible for it. Something else caused it. And often, such a distinction is very subtle and missed by you. There's also a haughtiness behind this behaviour. It dismisses the natural scheme of getting to know somebody, of falling in love in a sustained and deep, meaningful and genuine way. That is not for us. That is for mere mortals. And by causing you to sit apparently alongside us in this way is evidence of our haughtiness with regard to other lesser beings. Accordingly, this grandiosity, magical thinking, sense of entitlement, lack of accountability, and haughtiness are all demonstrative of the narcissistic dynamic. Why does it also appeal to you as an empathic individual who is now being ensnared by us? Well, first of all, it corrupts with your emotional thinking rather, your trait of being a love devotee. This fits in with the idea of being special, the only one, that love conquers all. Also, honesty. The idea is that it is a higher love that transcends the mundane, the fact that the ordinary relationship, which is tainted by unpleasant and bad things, is not here. It's pure, it's honest, and that appeals to that empathic trait. Furthermore, it also appeals to the empathic trait of a strong moral compass. Spiritually, this spirituality accords with the idea that it is a good thing that is being dealt with here, that spirituality and religion abide by a code, a convention, a set of ideals, which anybody that is able to adhere and follow to them must have a strong concept of right and wrong, a strong moral compass. And by tapping into this concept of spirituality, of a higher force, this accords with the ideas which marry with the empathic trait of a strong moral compass. Of particular note, contagion empaths are those which are particularly susceptible to this form of seduction, and it is a red flag that they in particular should have regard to. Accordingly, where spirituality, religion, but manifesting in the way that I have described, appears in text messages, in memes on social media, and said to you in person or on the telephone, take notice. This is a red flag. It's very red, it's large, it's looming, and it's fluttering right in front of you. Pay heed to it.